So this is the Samsung Galaxy A56, and we compared it against the A55, the A54, and even the 16e, but today it's going to stack up against the Pixel 8a in a speed test. So let's go ahead and begin with a boot up in 3, 2, go. And what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. If you guys found these videos helpful, entertaining, or just informing, or even just fun to watch, go ahead and do me a favor, click the like button for me down below. But today is going to be a little bit fun one because we're going to see if it's worthy of an upgrade in terms of performance from last year's Pixel 8a, because the 9a is coming. So that's also going to be a fun comparison. The Pixel 8a says, shut up, Nick, this morning. We're going to go ahead and boot up faster than even a brand new A56 with its 1580 CPU. So the Pixel has been one of those phones that tend to turn on faster, and this one's no exception. So let's go ahead and take a look at the general user interface experience. This one just turned on, so it's going to be a little bit choppy here. I wonder if the Pixel 8a, when it first turns on, exhibits the same effect, and not really. But as we swipe through here, both of them do a really good job with just navigating the general UI. I really do like this because some of the older mid-rangers or budget phones in these price tiers definitely did not do well, even just generally navigating in the software. So both of them do good. I do have to say, I think the Pixel feels slightly smoother though, day to day, the Pixel 8a. So this is definitely probably the smoother option here of the two. But the One UI 7 definitely cleaned it up a little bit for the A series. And you thought these bezels were thick right here. Take a look at these bezels. So the 8a has some pretty thick all around bezels, but they're a little more uniform. So it really depends on what you prefer. Now, when unlocking these phones, we are looking at fingerprint sensors on both. So let me go ahead and get this one popped up on the Pixel 8a. And if I go ahead and go like this, you'll see fingerprint right there. And then if we go to unlock them, pretty similar unlock. I will say though that I like the placement better of the Pixel 8a. The A56 is a little bit lower, so you can like juggle your hand a little bit more to get into the phone. So I do find that the Pixel 8a's unlocking experience is in a better location, although I just missed twice because I wasn't looking at the phone. But definitely both of them do unlock at about the same speed. All right, so here at the app test, everything is closed out for both phones, and let's go into calendar on both. And you see that was faster on the Pixel 8a. That is a Google phone, Google app. Let's go into calculator. That was faster for the A56. We'll go on the clock, faster on the Pixel 8a. These are just the basic row of apps. Let's get into Play Store. Faster on the Pixel 8a. Now this is the tensor of last year's A version. They're going to come up with the G4, I believe, in the 9a, which is coming in like a few days here, like April 10th is what they're saying. So this 8a is going to be last year's phone very shortly here. Technically already is, everybody already knows about the 9a, but you'll see that was faster for the A56. It's so, you know what's funny about this range of phones? Like, I know this one is a little bit cheaper. This actually opened first, so I'm gonna have to redo that. What's funny about these range of phones, it's not even funny, it's just kind of annoying, is that you have to make sacrifices no matter which ones you go with. So if you go with the Pixel, right, you don't get the best size phone if you want a big screen. If you go with the Galaxy A56, you get a huge screen with a great, actual screen, like it's a OLED, it's beautiful, but you don't get the fastest performance. If you go with the 16e, you get the fastest performance. You also get a great screen. That's why a lot of people are saying that like phones like the OnePlus 13R and these other products are really just doing it better these days because they don't really make as many sacrifices. Let's go into news, but then again, phones like the OnePlus 13R don't have better cameras than the Pixel 9a, 8a, or even 16e. So there's always a lot of sacrifices. Head into Amazon. There's always a lot of sacrifices to be made in these middle range or budget phones versus flagships. There's not really sacrifices. Just pick your OS and you have great cameras, great battery. But I actually think that makes these phones maybe slightly more interesting because you actually see bigger upgrades because they kind of hold them back on these mid-rangers. So the year-over-year upgrades on these mid-rangers can feel bigger than even on the flagship phones because they're always leaving something to be desired in this space. So let's go into Subway Surfer, and as the technology improves and gets cheaper, they can definitely bring some of those features down, which makes it like great for casual users. So casual users can really just buy one of these types of phones and they're going to have just as good of an experience, because if they're not using the pro cameras or anything like that on the higher end stuff, they're going to have nearly the same great experience they would have on a flagship. So that's why I think this space is interesting, and that's why I cover it on the channel. Now, I'm not a big fan of the budget phones, like below like these range of phones. I'm not into those phones. That's why I don't cover them. But this is where this area I think is a pretty good value. And I understand the Pixel 8a is more than the A series, but you see from a performance perspective, they're not too far off. I did read a comment yesterday that the Tensor is a Samsung produced chip. Let me know if that comment was correct or not. I haven't actually figured that out just yet, but you see they're both loading this stuff at about the same time. If we go to Free Fire, man, imagine if there was a GTA 6 that launched for Android. That would be amazing. Like, it was, even if the graphics were a little bit less, they were more optimized for mobile, that would be game changer. Like, I don't know why they don't do that. Like, why don't they think about that? Like, you know how many users you would reach? I'm sure people would even pay like half the price for a mobile version. Would you pay half the price for a mobile version of GTA 6? All right, so let's head into PUBG Mobile and see what happens here. And I do believe that the A56 has maybe a slightly slower GPU, but we'll have to see here. Could be wrong. Nope, it's looking like the Pixel 8a is doing this a bit slower for sure. So we'll see what happens here. I don't know what's going on with the Pixel. That is taking forever. So the 8a, definitely slower there. So I'm going to eat my own words on that one. I was thinking of the A55's GPU. That was closer to last year's phone. I'm ready to see the 9A versus the 8A. What about you guys? Let me know down below. But PUBG was much faster there. So we'll see how that fares in the benchmarks, how they actually stack up in those scores. Let's go into 3D Mark. Faster for the A56, Geekbench 6. Faster for the A56. And if you take a look there, you can see those different clock speeds right there. Pretty close, but the first and second cluster are clocked higher for the Galaxy A56. Let's go into Speed Test Net. You can see about the same there, and InShot, and faster for the A56. So overall, I do think that both of these phones are really good options in this lower tier price ranges. Of course, the Pixel 8a a little bit more, but the A56 offering pretty good value for casual users. I would say they don't age very well, as they don't get great updates very quickly, but they tend to have a good size screen, a good performance you've seen right there. And the Pixel 8a also giving you long software support, great cameras, and that Google Pixel experience. So both of these are awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at the RAM management. All right, so let's relaunch the apps and see what we get and how they perform. We're going to go back through them. And you'll see so far, both doing fantastic. But will that hold true as we continue on? Both of these are 8 gigabytes of RAM. And we'll go up out of here. We'll go into Dead Trigger 2. And neither giving a major issue. That was a little slower on the A56. We'll go into this reload. And we'll go into RTS. Both of them did a slight blink. We'll go into Amazon. Both of them did the same thing there. News, both of them did the same, except A56 was slightly quicker. Now it looks like we're getting reloads. So these are total reloads now, basically, on both of them. So yeah, holding apps in the background is going to be pretty similar on both of these phones. So don't expect to get either one having much better RAM management. Although Samsung's RAM management is improved over their previous A lines, compared to the Pixel, it's pretty much neck and neck. So that wasn't a big difference at all. They actually both started reloading around Amazon area. So they can't hold as many apps as a higher tier phone. Just keep that in mind. So these are the final benchmark scores, and you could see that the Pixel actually scores higher in both single and multi-core. So that would explain why it feels a little bit quicker than the A56. I thought it felt that way, but it didn't win out in the loading of PUBG, which was pretty interesting considering it has a higher multi-core. But this is mostly CPU benchmark, so it doesn't really determine the graphics performance. So we'll check 3D Mark. You'll see though that in the multi area, it's pretty similar. So these are pretty much neck and neck. I'm wondering how much improvement in performance we're going to get on the Pixel 9a though. That's pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to testing that one out soon, so stay tuned for that. And here are our final Wildlife Extreme scores. And so while the Pixel didn't load PUBG faster, it would probably be able to perform a little bit better. 14.78 FPS on the average frame rate with a 2468. Now that score is better than 48% of other devices, so that's pretty good. You know, it's half better than others, which is basically its price. It's usually half the price of flagships. Over here, pretty score, 1278, 7.65 FPS. And go over here, you'll see scores better than 23% of devices here on the market. So this one definitely doesn't really give me a lot to be super excited about with graphics performance, but it's not really about that. It's got the metal build, triple camera setup, big screen. It's a media powerhouse for casual users, and it's also a good size for casual users with a long battery life. Both of them have long battery life though, but Pixel outperforms it in the 3D Mark. All right, so we'll go ahead and take a picture of those Pixel Buds Pro 2 over there with the cameras just to see which one can launch the cameras faster. Oh my, I just accidentally hit that. So let me go ahead and go like that. Let's do this again. 3, 2, and go. And the Pixel launches that faster. It's actually the phone I would pick for camera too. Let's hit camera. I would pick the Pixel. In this comparison, it just has a really good camera. Let's go over here. Every time faster, so the Pixel's going to win that one out. Shutter speed wise, both of them are pretty similar, but the Pixel does have a little bit of a slower processing after the fact. But that result that it gets is worth that wait. So let's hit the video, and you'll see that's pretty good. And both of them, of course, can go double click to launch the cameras, and the Pixel also does that a little quicker as well. Let's do that again in 3, 2, and yep, the Pixel does that faster as you've seen. So overall, I would say in this comparison, the Pixel is the more powerful phone of these two, Pixel 8a. So, and I don't know about you, but I like the camera bar design of this 8a, probably a little more than even the newer 9a. But we haven't actually got that in hand, so stay tuned for that. We'll be covering that one soon against the 8a, the 16e, as well as the A56. So stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. If you want to see more mid-range or budget phone comparisons, let me know. Again, I only cover the ones that are maybe like around A56 line and up. So let me know your thoughts down below. I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.